It absolutely boggles my mind to this very day of how unwilling both Lucasfilm and Disney are to change when it comes to their properties like Star Wars, Marvel, and even just Disney flat out in general. This is exactly why they are dealing with many box office disasters that we saw and witnessed at the very tail end of 2023, and it's not looking good for this year either, let alone for next year, as 2025 is going to be filled with expensive failures by Marvel Studios. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So, the upcoming REY movie, or as others like to call it, the New Jedi Order film, or whatever you want to call it, right? It's going to feature Rey Skywalker, quote-unquote, who is not really a Skywalker and is really a Palpatine. Just gotta put that out there because it's a fact. But when you look at stuff like what Kathleen Kennedy, Sharmeen obaid-chinoy, as well as Stephen Knight and Daisy Ridley are pushing and defending here, it begins to make you to question exactly what this movie truly is all about. And even the casual fans are beginning to walk away from this project. And do you guys not find it very suspicious that after all the REY movie drama, Disney and Lucasfilm come forward just a couple of days later announcing the Grogu and Mandalorian movie to hit the big screen that's going to be directed by Jon Favreau, which, to be honest, guys, I'm not really too excited about this because I really have no faith in Lucasfilm anymore based on what Kathleen Kennedy has been doing and wreaking havoc over at the company. However, that's where things get interesting, is that on top of all of this, with Bob Iger currently destroying Lucasfilm with his movement with the upcoming REY-focused film, and how he is the one who greenlit this plan, one major development has to do with Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy and director Sharmeen obaid-chinoy. Now, Kathleen Kennedy recently delivered the following to the public about the upcoming film. As president of Lucasfilm, you have this responsibility, and something I felt was absolutely necessary was how can we expand our newly established characters that we actually explored in the sequels that no longer need to latch on to the Skywalker legacy where they can be their own thing. What would that be like? This is why I loved our decision with Sharmeen directing and guiding Stephen Knight with our beautiful script, and we have realized that many within this community are reluctant and seemingly frightened about change in a galaxy far, far away. So there she goes again, guys, about being frightened about change. Doesn't seem to stop with that statement, but moving on. I just think fans can be very offensive, she says, with their behavior, and there absolutely has been this disconnect. And they absolutely have been, of course, offensive with Miss Chinoy, who, by the way, is the best fit for our 2026 feature. As always with this community, you have to deal with a loud, biased community where one part of it consists of a small group that attempts to convince others to become uninterested in our products, and we view this as nothing more than offensive behavior. Our push for normalizing equality and diversity is our number one goal and not an agenda with our upcoming projects, such as The Acolyte, our 2026 film, and Ahsoka Season 2, which I am proud to announce after much uncertainty we got the chance to finally move forward with that project. The obstacle that we are dealing with when it comes to these projects, especially by the one being led by Sharmeen, is that many are not ready and unwilling to commit to a story that consists of a female ensemble cast. We are proud to be enhancing this with both Acolyte, Ahsoka Season 2, and our new film by both Sharmeen and Steven. I recently got the chance to speak with Daisy about her concerns with this community, and we both agreed that this is just another challenge that we feel will eventually become widely accepted to our audience, and those that remain opposed to shifting away from George's vision. This is a film for women and by women, but it's also a film that will attract both sides of our audience and different demographics. So let me just stop here real quick about what Kathleen Kennedy is trying to push. Notice how she always likes to push this narrative of normalizing equality and diversity. And I always say this, and I like to bring this up, whenever someone says that we have to normalize this or we have to normalize that, that's when it's not a normal thing at all. In fact, that's when you're promoting something abnormal. And that's not to say that diversity and equality is a bad thing in isolation. It's how you go about really establishing and executing that into your story, and whether or not you are, in this phase of favoritism of an agenda or a story. And Kathleen Kennedy has it backwards. She says that there's no agenda by chasing these strategies, when in reality it is an agenda. When you're focusing on DEI above any kind of a story or character development, you do not focus on a proper story to be told that eventually blossoms into either some natural need for equality, diversity, stuff like that, that would make it seem very natural. This is why movies out there, you know, have been hit classics, you know, within the past 40 years, mind you, that had a lot of equality and diversity and really had no problem with the audience. So this is another prime example that Kathleen Kennedy is either truly insane, or she knows exactly what she is saying is going to annoy her audience that are opposed to everything within Lucasfilm. Alright? I definitely think it's one or the other. Or perhaps even both. I would not be shocked. But what's interesting about this has a lot to do with her overall view of this REY movie and how she's saying that the fan response to Sharmeen and her overall statement about the 2026 Star Wars movie is such offensive behavior, something that is very irresponsible. I mean, these are the key words that she always likes to throw out there, right? Offensive, irresponsible, stuff like that. Moving onwards. She goes on to conclude, equality is something that we take seriously here at Lucasfilm, and what we don't accept are any kind of words or actions against our creators that may belittle them in their process of developing these magical projects at Lucasfilm that will only expand the galaxy far, far away. It's completely irresponsible for our fans and customers to be saying such things about Sharmeen and judging a book by its own cover before she has been able to share her story with the world that she and Steven collaborated on in the most unique way possible that I have seen in my years affiliated with Lucasfilm. So again, you know, an interesting point that I put out before is how they announced the Grogu and Mandalorian movie along with Ahsoka Season 2 no more than a week and a half after the REY drama began to really hit its peak. And that is really telling, and that is very much, you know, pretty much transparent of how desperate Lucasfilm is right now. And notice how they don't give you a time frame of when these movies are even going to come out. When it comes to the REY film, especially, which is supposed to be coming out in 2026, but they're no longer saying it's May of that year anymore. And the Mandalorian movie, again, very vague. They're just saying it's going to be directed by Jon Favreau. We don't know when. This is like now the 9th movie they have announced. I don't know where they're going to fit all this stuff because they announce movies and they cancel them left and right. They may have very well announced this movie because they are in the process of axing one of the overall movies of 3 ones that were announced a couple of months ago. What's interesting about this, guys, I would love to hear your overall view on Kathleen Kennedy and how she views the Star Wars community, which, by the way, is pretty much non-existent at this point. A lot of people are walking away. People are just done and over with it. I know I am, of course, but I would like to hear your overall view on this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.